house is haunted. The day came when Grandmama had to leave. Heidi and Clara felt very sad as they watched her carriage drive away. That evening, Heidi read aloud to Clara. The story was a sad tale about a grandmother who was dying. Heidi was at once reminded of Peter's grandmother and burst into tears. Clara tried to explain that it was only a story, but Heidi couldn't stop crying. She kept thinking about Peter's grandmother and her own dear grandfather too. What if they became ill and died? She might never see them again. Autumn and winter passed, and the spring sun shone on the wall of the house opposite. Heidi knew it would soon be time for Peter to take the goats up to the pasture. She thought of the flowers glittering in the sunshine, and the mountains turning crimson in the setting sun. And every night she cried into her pillow as though her heart would break. Then one morning, something very strange happened. When Sebastian came downstairs, he found the front door standing wide open. At first he thought a burglar had been in the house, but nothing was missing, and no damage had been done. The next day the same thing happened, so Sebastian sat up all night in a small room next to the hall. Just as the clock struck 1, a sudden breeze blew out the candle. Sebastian rushed into the hall. The front door was wide open, and there on the stairs stood a ghostly figure. He blinked. The figure vanished. When Fräulein Rottenmeier heard what had happened, she wrote to Herr Sesemann telling him that there was a ghost in the house and begging him to come home. Herr Sesemann returned at once. That night he asked his friend Dr. Clausen to wait with him in the small room by the hall. Just as the clock struck 1, they heard the front door opening. With pistols at the ready, they stepped into the hall. Moonlight streamed through the open door and fell on a small white figure. "Who is there?" demanded the doctor. Both men moved slowly forward, and suddenly the figure gave a cry. It was Heidi, trembling and blinking in the light. "What are you doing here, my child?" asked Herr Sesemann in surprise. I don't know," whispered Heidi. Her feet were bare, and all she had on was her little white nightgown. She was shivering with cold as well as fright. The doctor put his pistol down and carried Heidi gently upstairs to bed. "That doesn't matter," he said in a kind voice. "Now tell me where you wanted to go." "Every night I dream I'm with Grandfather," replied Heidi, "and I run quickly and open the cottage door to see the pine trees. But when I wake up, I'm still in Frankfurt." Then the doctor asked Heidi all about her grandfather and his cottage. As she told him, the tears gushed from her eyes, and her whole body shook with sobs. The doctor stroked her head. "Try to sleep now," he said gently. "In the morning, everything will be all right." He went downstairs and told Herr Sesemann that Heidi had been sleepwalking because she was so homesick. The only thing that would help would be for her to return to her grandfather at once.